For those of you who have worked alongside me in the past, have heard me many times use the acronym LYP in general conversation, email signature lines, meetings with students, parents, and staff. LYP stands for Love Your People. In times of crisis, we often overcomplicate things and become overwhelmed by what is going on around us, whereas if we just keep things to the simple truth of loving our people, the picture becomes much clearer. I feel certain some of you are excited about the opportunity to expand your teaching repertoire to online teaching, and I'm just as confident there are many of you that are extremely anxious about the experience. Regardless of your emotion, just focus on loving your people, your students and their parents, and your colleagues to the best of your ability, and the rest will fall into place in due time. We know this is not going to be perfect from the onset, and that's okay. However, we must seek to continuously improve. Your curriculum and instruction team and administrators have worked nonstop to create an online learning system that is simple for the user, yet offers extensive support for students, parents, and teachers. I want to take a few minutes and give you an overview of the entire system and its components. Your principals will fill in the gaps with more details at your PLC meetings tomorrow and in the coming weeks. The Oxford School District Online Learning System is designed around two major components: how teachers will deliver instruction and how students and teachers will communicate regarding assignments and evidence of learning. In order to keep the process simple for learners and their parents, the delivery of instruction has two major elements: video conferencing through a platform called Zoom, and screen recordings through an application chosen by the individual teacher. The team has created an infographic that highlights the expectations of both video conferencing and screen recording for teachers. First, let's talk about video conferencing. It's very important that teachers communicate consistently with their students. The expectation is that teachers will video conference with their students at least once a week on a set schedule, which is to be determined by the teacher, using a consistent platform, which for all OSD teachers will be Zoom. Secondary teachers, the expectation is that you just have one Zoom meeting per week with each of your content areas. For example, if a high school teacher teaches both world history and U.S. history, there would be one video conference with all U.S. history students and one video conference with all world history students. Elementary teachers, you would just have one video conference with the 25 to 28 students that you teach daily. We also ask that you keep in mind that less is more. Students have other responsibilities in an online learning environment. Some of them may be taking care of siblings or have other responsibilities around home. So again, less is more. Elementary teachers, we ask that you keep your video conferencing sessions less than 30 minutes. Secondary teachers, we ask that you keep your sessions less than 50 minutes. So what is the purpose of video conferencing with your students at least once a week? It's really about setting expectations, not about teaching content in your video conferencing session. In your video conferencing session, make sure you outline the week's instruction. Maybe you set some due dates and discuss those dates with students. And you also discuss how they will be assessed, or how you as the teacher will collect evidence of their learning. Also get feedback from your students about the types of assignments and assessment that you're giving them. They will have great insight on improving our online learning process. Also, be empathetic. This online conferencing session gives you an opportunity as a teacher to create a sense of normalcy by duplicating some normal classroom routines in your online learning platform. So keep that in mind. As much as you can make this online learning experience like your regular classroom experience, making students feel like they're a part of a class even though they're not physically sitting in a room, the better the experience will be for the students. And also be empathetic in the fact that you encourage your students to balance their online time with you online with their offline time, connecting with their classmates, and also completing the assignments and activities that you give them. And now, teacher expectations for screen recordings. We expect you once again to communicate clearly and consistently with your students. So the day that you're not video conferencing, there should be a screen recording daily for each of your classes, using the screen recording platform of your choice. Doceri is a platform that's very popular with math teachers. I'm currently using Screencast-O-Matic to record this screen recording for you, and QuickTime is also another popular platform. For those of you who are not familiar with screen recording, Oxford School District instructional coaches will be providing professional development on QuickTime later this week. I will discuss that schedule with you for professional development later in this screen recording. Once again, we remind you, just like with video conferencing, when you're creating your screen recording videos, that less is more. Elementary teachers, we encourage you to keep your videos less than 15 minutes. And secondary teachers, keep your videos less than 30 minutes. Once again, that is very important because we're asking our students to balance their time online with their teacher and watching videos with their offline time completing their assignments. With screen recordings, it's very clear that you state clear objectives and the standards that you're teaching. This is even more important than in the regular classroom setting because they may not have instant access to you as the classroom teacher. So make sure you're very clear in specifying your expectations so that students understand what they're supposed to be learning. And once again, be empathetic and assign a reasonable workload, understanding that your students may have other responsibilities during this time of crisis for our school system, for our state, and for our country. Make sure that you are being empathetic and assigning a reasonable workload. This PDF will also be provided to you in a teacher resource folder on the Oxford School District website later this week, and your school building principals will be discussing these how-tos with you at your PLC meetings later this week as well. Now that we have discussed the first major component of the Oxford School District online learning system, which is how teachers will deliver instruction, let's take a minute and discuss how students and teachers will communicate regarding assignments and evidence of learning. First, for our elementary teachers, which consist of teachers in grades pre-K through 4. You will be using Seesaw as the platform to communicate about assignments and assessments or evidence of learning with your students. Secondary teachers, which consist of grades 5 through 12, you will be using the Schoology platform, which the majority of you are already familiar with. Once again, don't get anxious if you're not completely proficient in either of those two platforms. Your Oxford School District instructional coaches will be providing professional development for each of those platforms this Thursday, and I will discuss that schedule later in this screen recording. Now I would like to take a few minutes to discuss the characteristics of a quality online learning system. First, let's keep in mind that for a quality online learning system, it's actually asynchronous learning. You're creating a personalized learning experience for your students in which they work at their own pace and they absorb the content at their own pace. Those of you who have been through standards-based grading training by Marzano understand that this is actually a component of standards-based grading as well. Again, communicating consistently is very important for any online learning system. All instructions and assignments must be communicated through the designated program or platform for us, which is Zoom or your screen recording platform of your choice. Communication is vital in the success of our online learning system with the Oxford School District. Again, keep in mind that less is more. Assignments are likely to take twice as long for some of these students due to different factors and priorities that they may have at home during this time of crisis. Hold office hours. We need to be online during office hours to provide support to both our students and to our parents. Your building principals have worked with the PLC leaders at each of our respective schools to set office hours, and they will communicate those office hours with you at your PLC meetings. Those office hours will also be housed in the teacher resource folder on the Oxford School District website and will also be provided to students and parents on the district website as well. Give explicit instructions is a very important part of an online learning system as well. Outline your deliberate instructions and specify the length of time that it should take to complete the learning of your assignments and activities. I mentioned this a little earlier. Seek student feedback about their workload, about their emotional state. How are they feeling about the online learning system? Their learning preferences. Make sure you're varying your activities and assignments that you're giving your students. In other words, it shouldn't be a bunch of just a bunch of worksheets that you're assigning to your students. And make sure that they are pacing their learning. This section of seeking student feedback will be very important for the progression or the continuous improvement of our Oxford School District online learning system. Boost learning retention. Again, curate multimedia materials to boost learning retention and use digital tools to create interactive lessons. A part of your teacher resource folder on the Oxford School District website, which will be released to you later this week, has tons of digital tools and resources that you can use that actually companies are giving to teachers for free during this time of crisis. So be sure that you utilize those resources to vary the learning experience for your students. And again, I can't emphasize enough, be empathetic. Assign a reasonable workload. Encourage your students to balance their online time with the teachers in the screen recordings and their offline time completing their assignments and connecting with their classmates. Once again, this tool entitled Do This, Not That, Planning Online Instruction for the Oxford School District will also be available to you in your teacher resource folder on the Oxford School District website later this week. As I mentioned previously, we understand how important it is to provide professional development to our teachers to make sure they understand all of the digital platforms that we are asking you to use in order to best serve our students. Therefore, Oxford School District instructional coaches will be providing professional development this Thursday, which will be March the 19th, on each of these digital platforms. Please review the schedule below and come to the sessions in which you need the most assistance. Again, you will be able to attend all 3 sessions, but you may choose only the sessions that you need to attend. Your principals will also review this schedule with you at your PLC meetings, and it will also be posted on the teacher website or the teacher resource website tomorrow afternoon. But again, if you need assistance, please make plans to attend these professional development sessions. These sessions will be offered live in person on the campus of Oxford Middle School at these designated times, and they will also be offered virtually through Zoom. I know this may seem daunting at first, but keep in mind the pressures of state assessments and accountability have been removed from the equation. In fact, students should only improve their grades through this online experience. A student's grades shouldn't decline. You are teaching because you love to teach and you love to see students learn. Enjoy the teaching experience and allow students to enjoy learning. As always, I'm here to support you. If you have questions and do not know where to go to find answers, feel free to email me anytime. Thank you again for your service to the students of the Oxford community and LYP.